Hello everyone and welcome to the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War Core 2 Q&A segment here where patrons on the Patreon have submitted questions that are pertaining to the Thousand Year Blood War and specifically Core 2, much like I did when I finished Core 1. I've now finished Core 2 and people have submitted questions. The questions have been vetted by a friend of mine to make sure that none of them are spoilery or gonna hint towards the future. So I'm gonna answer these questions. It's gonna be chill. We're gonna just kind of hang out, have a good time. And yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys had to ask. So let's see. Will you be able to do Stern Ritter rankings after Core 2 or will you wait? That also goes for everyone else, like the captains and lieutenants. Love what you're doing and wish you the best. So I'll probably wait, I think, to do a Stern Ritter ranking because I think I've seen them all now where I'm at, but I still haven't like fully seen how a lot of them play into the story yet. So I kind of want to wait a little bit longer and see if some of the ones we've recently met will do things or if I'll learn more about them. That might change where they're ranked for me. And as far as the captains and the lieutenants, I have been doing, progressive rankings of them throughout the series, but I think I'm going to wait till the very end of the series to rank them. I know for certain that in my next update, some of the captains, at least, are definitely going to shift in their positions based on what's happened in the Thousand Year Blood War. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I have a few questions this time. Who's your favorite Squad Zero member? I really like Oetsu Namaya. He's fun. I like him a lot. But also, our Osho. He's pretty great, as I've seen recently. Who's your favorite Quincy Royal Guard, not counting Uryu or Hoshvalt? I haven't really seen that much of him, but so far, probably Noklavar. I really like Noklavar a lot. I like his vibe. I like his abilities. I think he's a fun antagonist to kind of... He's very different compared to a lot of the other Stern Ritter we've seen. Favorite dub performance of all Bleach? God, I really liked Ginjo's in the Fullbring arc. I thought he had a very powerful performance. But this Thousand Year Blood War, if we're talking as not, that actor went crazy in that scene in Core 2 when he freaks out. Like, I absolutely loved that. And the Japanese actor for Asnod is also amazing, so I really like both those performances. Lastly, what was your favorite anime-only edition? So of Core 2, what did I love in Core 2 as far as anime editions? I really liked seeing Shinji's Bankai. And, like, the setup for it wasn't that hype. Like, it kind of just happened, but I really liked seeing it, and I thought it was cool. Yeah, probably that one, although, I don't know, recently, Senjimaru using her Bankai. All that Squad Zero edition and Uryu fighting, a lot of the additions in this fight in the Soul Palace have been really good. I love your videos, and most of all, I really appreciate you being so chill with the whole Giselle fiasco. A lot of the fan base still misgender her, so it was great that you quickly caught on and were respectful about it. Of course, of course. Yeah, she's a very interesting character, as I've talked about. Considering the many changes made to the anime, such as additions of new content, what are your thoughts about the anime seemingly making an active choice to cut out a large chunk of more outwardly comedic moments from the manga? Especially considering the fact that the Thousand Year Blood War anime is being directly overseen by Kubo himself, meaning he likely had some amount of involvement in their removal. Are you a fan of this direction, or do you wish that some of the more comedic scenes were kept for the anime? I do wish some of the more comedic scenes were kept for the anime, but I also understand why, they would want to cut those and keep it more tense and dark and war-focused. I get it, because sometimes, those were usually used to kind of give us a breather from that, but with the limited time they have, like I talked about how I thought the Kenpachi Gremi episode was a little rushed as far as, the pacing of it. Considering they have time constraints and stuff, I can see why they would want to cut some of those kind of gag moments, but I do miss those. But Kubo, obviously, as like you said, he was involved in it too, so he apparently didn't mind either. So I did think it was interesting at the very end of Cour 2, they kind of acknowledged that with the Soul Reaper file segment with Cone. I thought that was kind of funny, but I do wish the Cone, like I've talked about, the Cone reintroduction scene, I wish was kept in the anime. What is an example of a character you desperately want to get more screen time but hasn't/didn't? Oh, character I desperately want to get more screen time but hasn't. Who do I desperately want? Chad, probably. Chad and Orihime, I feel like have kind of been. I think that's going to be changing soon with the way things are being set up. I'm still waiting for Grimjow because I know he's around, so I'm still waiting for that. The Fullbringers coming back. I do want to see those characters a lot, but they haven't used them. Desperately want anyone else that I'm like really wishing they had more. The Visored in general. I do wish we got to see more of them, but I get it. What character has gotten plenty of screen time, but you kind of wish they didn't? No one really sticks out to me that I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't like that Loopy's back. Does that count? But there's no one like regularly kind of annoying me, you know? No, I don't think there's anyone that I'm like. I mean, I guess Hitsugaya's gotten a lot of focus in his fights. Like, he's had multiple fights and multiple confrontations, and then he came back as a zombie. But like, I kind of liked all that stuff, so I don't mind. He has gotten a lot of screen time. What do you think of Uryu's expanded role in the part of the story compared to the manga? I love it. I'm glad they did that. That's some of the best changes in the anime. Not only in Cour 1, where he was like learning stuff behind the scenes, but the extra stuff we've gotten in Cour 2, like him fighting, Squad Zero. But also, I really enjoyed. I thought it was smart the way they moved Hashvault and Uryu's conversation about Yhwach to the execution room, where he got to see Songdu and BG9 get executed. I thought that was more impactful, that he saw what can happen to his supposed allies if they failed, Kind of really painted a clear picture of the kind of team he was on. What are your theories regarding Yuha's eyes? I don't know. I mean, I now know because of that anime scene and like the way Cour 2 ended in the manga, that like he is Yhwach's son. So I assume it's like hereditary. Is it because he's the biological son of the Soul King? Did I say he's Yhwach's son? I meant he's the Soul King's son. I don't know what I said. It's early. It's the morning. What do you think about the way Squad Zero was treated in the anime compared to the manga? I loved the way the anime handled it. I was so glad that they, showed how they were beaten. And it wasn't even like they got whooped in a fight. It was that they literally had to sacrifice themselves to help bolster the battle. I thought that was really good. Because the off-screen manga bit, I was kind of let down at the time. I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, we didn't even really see what happened except Uetsu no Maya getting shot. Knowing what you know so far of everyone's abilities, what fight would you like to have seen that could have occurred in Cour 2? That's a good question. It's like the second invasion. I would have liked to have seen more Robert fighting. I thought his like speed fights in the moments where he like attacked Ichigo and when he attacked Byakuya in the anime. Maybe him versus Shunsui? Like, he took Shunsui's eye, which feels like a big deal. Like there was like a Some of the Stern Ritter took the Bankais and then they fought the people they stole from, but at least those people got their Bankai back. Like, Shinsui didn't get his eye back. So I would have liked an eye for an eye, you know? I think I would have liked to have seen that. But also, Robert's in an interesting place because the manga showed him very explicitly getting, like, destroyed, I think, by the Auswählen, and the anime cut that scene out, so I don't really know where Robert's at right now. Good old Commissioner Gordon. Seeing how Squad Zero is, do you believe Aizen would have had a chance against them had he defeated Ichigo? I think he might have put up a solid fight. I don't know if he would have won. But then again, he was like constantly evolving, you know? So maybe he would have turned into something. Like, he was very hard to defeat, and it took very specific things, kind of. But I think they would have been able to handle it, though. They're very impressive. Which Stern Ritter, including the Royal Guards if you want, surprised or interested you the most, since pretty much everybody's powers and personalities were shown up during this Cour? Surprised me, probably Pepe, in not a good way, as I've talked about. I thought Giselle was pretty surprising as far as her powers, and I was more surprised that I guessed her letter. But yeah, Gigi was interesting because she was very, very disturbing, you know, as far as how she treated her zombies and her fellow Quincy. I thought she was pretty disturbing. Asnod continued to interest me. Gremmy was interesting as well. His powers were crazy. So probably Gremmy. What do you think about them having letters to represent each one instead of a numerical rank like the Espada? I like it. It was fun to try to guess. I think I have most of the letters now on my board filled in. I think there's only a couple that I don't. Which Stern Ritter do you think is the most OP? Gremmy. Gremmy could have been unstoppable if he had a little more of an imagination. Who do you think has been the MVP for the Soul Society during the war so far? Do you think they will have that title by the end of it? I feel like Ichigo will probably have the title by the end of it. Mayuri has come in super handy, especially during this second invasion. Mayuri or Ahara, the mad scientists really have come in clutch when they needed to for a variety of reasons. So probably those two. More of an observation here, Kubo very obviously loves his twist villains. Both of his major villains pre-Yuabaha are major twists, and it seems like Yuabaha was a change from that, at least at first. He kind of becomes a twist villain throughout Thousand Year Blood War as we learn more and unlock new layers of his character, such as who he really is, his connection to those around him, how he's impacted so many people throughout history, and what his true goals are. I think Yuabaha is very interesting change of pace while showing us just how much the big man Kubo really does love his twist. I agree, there hasn't been like a oh, he's secretly evil kind of twist like there was with Aizen and Ginjo. But there are little elements as we keep peeling back, you know, that he's the one that was responsible for Misaki's death, that he's, you know, his connection to Ichigo through being a Quincy, and his connection to Sangetsu, and him being the Soul King's son. So yeah, there are a lot of things to unravel, I agree. I think it's a pretty interesting change of pace, because, you know, right away he's bad. Like, you know, there's no question about it, like there is for the others. So, yeah, good observation. There were many rumors about Kubo during the time this released, about Kubo's health, the paper and editor pressure that affected the quality and style of writing and design. As someone reading everything now, do you feel a difference in writing and style of Bleach during Thousand Year Blood War? Not that I've really noticed. No, like, I didn't think there was a huge drop-off in quality or anything that I've caught so far. You know, Thousand Year Blood War, it has been really good, just even in the manga, and I've loved the additions the anime made, but I've been really enjoying the manga chapters too. I mean, there are some moments like Squad Zero being beaten off screen, or, you know, stuff like that that I'm not huge on, but I feel like it's pretty consistent, and if he was going through health problems or pressure, that's very unfortunate, but I mean, I've heard that, you know, the reason they're adding so much is because people felt that the manga was rushed, but I've been really enjoying the manga so far. I don't know. I'm not really feeling that differences, really. Okay, hello Agamotto, it is I, the one who always prefaces his questions with essays because I can't help but end up blabbering extensively when given the chance to interact with my favorite Bleach reactor. Thank you. So trust me when I say I'm trying to keep this as abridged as possible. How do you feel about when a character is first designed to be hated by the audience, but is then brought back with those hateable traits almost completely gone? Is the audience justified in still hating him if they are effectively a different person from before? I still hate Loopy. The example, you hated Loopy because of his arrogance. Yes. Then Loopy died and you were happy for almost a year and a half. I was. Then Loopy came back as a zombie and you probably fell to despair, preferring him to stay dead. I did. But Loopy is not just a zombie, he is also Mayuri's slave, who Mayuri can literally torture endlessly. Yes. Many would consider this a fate worse than death, so with that logic, you could be expected to like it more than just having him die quickly. That's a fair argument. But also, Loopy has seemingly mellowed out considerably from his previous self. That's true. He doesn't talk arrogantly when fighting, and even shows some analytical ability to figure out how Giselle's zombification works, a far cry from throwing his tentacles around and expecting the fight to be over. Yeah, you're not wrong, but he also hasn't had much of a chance to show how, he's still, I assume he's still pretty arrogant, but yeah, maybe getting blown apart has mellowed him out a bit, which good for him. I still don't really like the character. He has been less annoying, but he's also not been focused on. Even though he was only in the series briefly before, he was pretty upfront in those chapters and episodes when he was there replacing Grimmjow, so yeah, I still hold it against him. That's just a me thing, though. What are you hoping for in Cour 3? Just continued hype and excitement as we keep going towards a climax, because it keeps building, and I'm hoping it's just going to keep doing that. And I like feeling that. Do you think we... Also, I know I'm hoping for in Cour 3, I'm hoping Aizen, Grimmjow, who else? The Fullbringers. I want those villains that have kind of been teased as still being around to kind of come back. Do you think we could have gotten a Blade is Me moment for Renji and Rukia through Byakuya's death in Cour 2? Yes, absolutely. I actually have a thing about that in my video that's hopefully, by the time this comes out, hopefully that video is on the channel, or it will be soon at the time of this recording. So, yeah, I do think we could have had that without Byakuya still being alive. I think might have even been better, but yeah, I go into that a lot. I rant about that in that video, so you might have already seen that. We'll see. What do you think about the eyes on the arm that Ichibei used? Yhwach's eyes in the same flashback and the changes in Ichigo's eyes. Do you have a theory about the vision seen in all those scenes and the mystery surrounding the eyes? I assume it's all connected to the Soul King, because the Soul King's got weird eyes. Aizen's eyes were changing when he was kind of turning into something beyond a Soul Reaper. Ichigo's eyes were changing. Yhwach's eyes. I think it's all going to be connected to the Soul King somehow. Which invasion did you prefer overall? That's an excellent question. I think the hopelessness and the futility of the first invasion, along with the suddenness of it. And yes, the second one was sudden too, but the way it just kind of happened, I think the first invasion was scarier, and it kind of was designed to be, because we were losing and we didn't have ways to beat them yet. But I did like the hype moments of Invasion 2. It's just Invasion 1 was so startling, I think. Yeah, so probably Invasion 1, but Invasion 2 had a lot of great moments. What do you think of Mayuri's sunsuit, and where does it rank amongst his outfits so far? It's pretty good. It's also functional. It's got a purpose. It's pretty cool. I also like in the anime how it fluctuates in colors, the spectrum of colors. Also, who do you think have contributed the most in the war during Cour 2? Mayuri and Urahara, for sure. I don't know where we'd be without them. They're even now they're still helping. What's your least favorite scene cut decision, and what's your favorite added scene for Cour 2 specifically? For Cour 2 specifically, I'm trying to think what was cut. The Robert scene, obviously. I felt like that was kind of a loss. Yeah, I feel like there could have been a way where we had the additions to the Auswählen while still keeping the Robert stuff somehow. I don't know. Was that my least favorite scene cut? I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know if that's my least favorite, but I do wish that was still in. I think that's going to be my answer. The Robert scene for my least favorite scene cut decision. What's my favorite added scene for Cour 2? Probably Squad Zero. The way they were beaten, I thought was a good addition. A good addition for sure. And Senjumaru's big moment. So probably that. What's been your favorite Schrift we have seen so far, and how do you feel about the Schrifts in general? I like the Schrifts. I think they've done a good job, especially in the anime where there's a bit more scenes of the Sternritters like fighting that are added, where I like that the anime has kept up some of like the more traditional Quincy weapons like the bows and all that, but the Schrifts are interesting because you kind of don't really know what to expect at first, and then they have brought some really cool powers like Gremmy and Asnot and the GGs. Like, I think there's been a lot of really cool things with them, and I like the way they kind of say something about the character too. Like, they're very inherent to the personality as well, and I really like stuff like that. In which direction do you think Ichigo and Uryu's relationship is headed from now on? Probably not great for a while, but I do think Uryu is secretly working against Yhwach still, so I'm hoping they'll come together, because they do have a lot in common now. So I'm hoping, I feel like they're going to clash, obviously, but then I hope they're going to work together to beat Yhwach at the end. What are your theories on the mysterious anime-only blink and you'll miss it shots that happened during Ichigo's training and Yhwach's flashback negotiation with Ichibei in the beginning of episode 24? They were massively important lore drops for the Bleach world, so it might be fun for you to analyze them properly. I'd have to go back. Maybe I'll do a video on Patreon where I kind of go frame by frame to try to figure it out. That could be fun. But at the moment, I don't know what to make of them. They were pretty vague, but apparently they're huge lore drops. I don't know. I mean, I thought they were interesting for sure. Kind of weird moments. Ichibei was there looking creepy. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to go back and see. What was the most expected and unexpected moment till now? And what do you expect how the story will unveil going ahead? And now that you know Yhwach's Royals Guards survive against Squad Zero, who do you think they will fight against in Cour 3 and Cour 4? Most expected and unexpected moment till now. In Cour 2? Cour 2 unexpected moments. Probably the weird, like, Yashiru being potentially Kenpachi's sword. I think that's pretty big. Rose getting blasted through the chest was pretty unexpected, and then also the two of them dying was pretty unexpected. Like, off panel, but killed by Gremmy. That was interesting. So maybe one of those moments. Which of the Squad Zero members will fight against? I think Naklavar versus Mayuri is one I really want to see. Because Mayuri's kind of about poisons. Naklavar sort of in a way is about poisons. He's also, he could try to do something to Mayuri's body, and Mayuri could have like injections or whatever, because he's got a weird body that he's experimented on. So that could be fun, I think, to see them throw down. I also want to see Chad versus Gerard. I think that could be cool. What other ones? Yeah, that's probably what I'd want to see, I think. Although I'm trying to think, the X-Axis guy, who would I want to see him fight? Maybe Yororichi. I feel like that could be cool because she's pretty quick. That could be interesting. I don't know. Probably something like that. Considering the fact that you're now a decent way through the arc and you have a good understanding of the direction it's going, what are some of your craziest predictions and theories of what may happen, or things you just really want to happen, even if it's extremely unlikely, kind of like the Bleach theory videos you did? I still think Ichigo is going to become the successor to the Soul King. I feel like that's going to happen. I'm still really hoping for a big supervillain team up between all the ex-villains showing up at some point. Crazy theories though. Don't really have anything crazy right now, I don't think. I don't know. No, I don't know if there's anything that crazy. We've gotten so many answers in this arc. I guess like I could always fall back on like the potential. I'm at like 2% thinking this now, but I used to think Urahara was going to turn out to be bad, and if that turns out to be true, that'd be crazy. Now that you've seen most of them in action, what are your favorite Stern Ritters, and which ones do you have high expectations for in the future? My favorite Stern Ritters are probably Not Clavar. I thought Gigi was fun, but I don't like her per se. Trying to think who else. Grammy was cool. I liked Grammy. And I haven't seen quite enough of like the Royal Guards to really say how much I like them yet, but what are some matchups you expect from the newer ones you've seen? So I mentioned Naklavar versus Mayuri. That would be cool. But I could also see Naklavar versus Orihime, because she can like heal. And I could even see Naklavar versus Ukitake, because Ukitake is sickly, and I feel like Naklavar could probably take advantage of that, as far as his body. What is a change in the anime that you preferred over the manga and one you didn't? Change in the anime that I preferred was definitely this how Squad Zero was handled, and one that I didn't, yeah, probably the way Robert was kind of ignored. I didn't really love that. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that really stood out as far as handling. No, I think they've done mostly a good job. I guess just in general, I thought the Grammy Kenny fight was a little rushed in the anime compared to that. It didn't have the same oomph as some of the stuff in the manga did. I'm curious if you share the sentiment of the community that the Zero Division fight was squandered in the manga. I don't know about squandered, but yeah, I was disappointed that they got beaten. In the manga, if you just read the manga, it seems like they lost. Like they got whooped by the Royal Guards. And while that makes the Royal Guards seem more intimidating, I prefer that. I mean, it still makes them feel intimidating that Squad Zero has to push themselves to like such a limit, like they do in the anime, to try to beat them. So, I would say, yeah, I guess I would say it was squandered. I'd also be curious to hear your impression of the Soul King currently and his role/history. Finally, I'd love to hear any theories you have for your favorite Jawa friend. Yeah, Perinda. I always forget his name, but the little Jawa-looking guy. I think he's like a black hole. I think he's just like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything really under there. I think that's gonna be, or like if there is, it's like a shapeless thing. I don't know, but he is mysterious. The Soul King is weird. It's very weird. He's not really a character, but I guess like maybe that's part of the mystique. He's kind of this unknowable thing, as Aizen said. So I'm curious how one would become the Soul King. You know, does someone have to give themselves over and be crystallized and enshrined, essentially? I don't know. If you could interview any of the Stern Ritters and ask them questions, who would it be? What questions would you ask them? I really would kind of want to get into the heads of people like Bambi and Giselle and just kind of ask, like, what are they thinking? Some of them were very, like, psychotic. Like, some of them explained themselves pretty well. As Knott's philosophies make sense for that character. I understand where he's coming from based on what we saw of his past. But some of them I'm just kind of like, what's wrong with you? You know, Giselle's whole thing is crazy. Like the way she treats her friends and Bambi doing, you know, her thing with some of the guys there. I'm like, why, why are you like this? So maybe I'd interview them. I feel like that could be interesting. I also feel like Hoshvalt has probably a lot of layers, so maybe I'd want to interview him as well. So Cour 2 added a lot of new lore on the Soul King. What are your thoughts on him and how he was the one that separated life and death? I think he's pretty interesting. Separating life and death. Do you think it was necessary? Yeah, probably, right? Was he the one that made? Are people mortal because of him? Like, was that what that means, or are they saying that ghosts and the spirit world and the living world would be together? What do you think Ichibei's relationship is to the Soul King? I feel like he's the one that's closest to him, right? Like, he seems like it. He's like sitting with him in front of him in the anime when we first saw the Soul King, right? Or he was speaking with him. He feels like an apostle in a way, you know. He's a bit like a monkish kind of priest. He seemed to be the only Squad Zero member to show up in those visions. That's true. That's true. Out of both intros and outros from Cour 1 and Cour 2, which was your favorite visually and song? I'm trying to remember what Cour 1's outro was like. It feels like it's been so long now. It's been a couple months. I don't know. Cour 1's opening was really hype at the time. And I only recently watched Cour 2's intro, which was cool. And they had really cool visuals. I don't know. Visually, maybe Cour 2. Song, maybe Cour 1 as far as intros. Outros, I just don't remember Cour 1's outro off the top of my head right now for some reason. I remember Cour 2's with all the shadows. That was really cool visually as well. Oh, that was actually cool too. I don't know. Cour 2 had some strong visuals. What's your favorite fight so far? Are you talking Cour 2? If it's Cour 2... In the anime, probably everything between Squad Zero and the Royal Guards and like Ichibei versus Yhwach. In the manga, probably Kenny versus Gremmy. Maybe. But I also liked the mask stuff too. The mask fights were cool. Like Renji had a good big moment. And Rukia's moment against Asna was really good. But yeah, I don't know. I'll go with those answers. Not really a question, but more so, what are your thoughts on how the Squad Zero versus Royal Guard was handled? I think I've covered that. I preferred it in the anime for sure. A big part of the community for years was not too happy with the manga, but that was more so from the perspective of a weekly reader, so I'm curious what you think about it. I personally think the anime feels a lot more cohesive and grandiose. Very rarely do I say this, I'm a bit of a manga purist, but the Holy Selection for me is just so much better in the anime. I agree. I thought the Ausvalen was way better in the anime as far as conveying how important it was and the scale and the beauty of it and it raining, you know, energy. I still just missed the Robert moment. If they could somehow have mixed that in there, I would have been like, oh. But, oh yeah, the stolen Quincy power raining down on everyone is just chef's kiss. Exactly. But yeah, I do wish Robert, my boy Robbie, Commissioner Gordon. What do you think about Aizen and his original motive, knowing now that Aizen knew about Yhwach? Him specifically recruiting Hollows and Arankars, him knowing Yhwach and the prophecy. So do you believe Aizen knew what was to come and wanted to preempt Yhwach? And if so, would it have made a moral difference to you? That's a really interesting question and perspective. I hadn't thought about the fact that Aizen was specifically recruiting an army of Hollows and Arankars, and Hollows and Arankars are like poisonous to Quincy's. So he could have known that they were the best bet because they wouldn't have their like powers stolen. That's an interesting thing. I mean, I don't think it's going to turn out that Aizen wanted to be the Soul King specifically to stop Yhwach, but I guess he could have. But I could, you know, shift that perspective that he thought it was necessary to be in that position. Yeah, I don't know if I would say it changes how I view what he was doing, because he was like kind of similarly doing bad things. But I think it's interesting that, yeah, it does seem he may have been preemptively preparing. The Soul King is a really fascinating topic. We first really got a vague idea of his existence when Aizen is going ballistic and tells Kisuke, "How can you bow to that thing?" Yeah, that's always stuck with me. The anime also added additional scenes with Ichigo's training with flashes of some really interesting stuff. I highly recommend you pause and look. I guess I should. I'll do that on Patreon. I'll go through those and see. Overall, since we're still just in Cour 2 and are just getting into Yhwach's motivations with the Soul King, my question is, what do you think and theorize about the Soul King and how it relates to our two major villains in Bleach? I mean, I think maybe he isn't a great guy. There was a period of time where I thought the Soul King was going to be like the final villain, but I don't think he's so much a character as much as a thing. I think he's... the concept of him is what's driving Aizen and Yhwach, and maybe, Yhwach's his son, apparently. Maybe he wasn't such a great dad. I don't know. I don't know. The Soul King is fascinating, and I just don't really know what to make of him still. Thank you for all the amazing reactions and videos. It feels so amazing to share the love of Bleach with your first-time experience and the community you've made. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hello, I apologize if others have asked. I would just love to hear your interpretation of the conversation between Yhwach and Ichibei. It was anime only, and I think it's an interesting conversation, but I would love to hear your perspective. So you're talking about the flashback scene at the conference table with the, ceasefire? I do have to rewatch that, and I'll do that too on Patreon, because, yeah, there was a lot of information that I was trying to process. They were talking about, the hands, and they were doing weird things with eyes and hands, and the eyes and extra eyes, and it was a lot to really process, but clearly the ceasefire attempt didn't work out the way that they were trying to. But yeah, I gotta rewatch that scene, and I will do that on Patreon, maybe when I go back and look at this stuff. I should do that soon. I've really enjoyed your Tokyo Ghoul reactions. Will you read Tokyo Ghoul Re? This is the follow-on series. Yeah, probably. If I continue to enjoy Tokyo Ghoul like I have been, then yeah, I'll probably read Tokyo Ghoul Re as well. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, when I bring this to YouTube, I do Tokyo Ghoul manga read-alongs on the Patreon, and probably will be doing analysis videos here on YouTube as well. What Stern Ritter do you think deserves more exposure or depth, living or dead? There are ones that, feel like they have a lot of depth, but we don't know much about them yet, but I feel like we will. Like Hoshvalt, I feel like, is ripe for some sort of exploration. So I think he deserves more exposure. Deserves more depth? I'm trying to think who's... I would have loved to have learned more about James. Because it was just enough to theorize, but we didn't really get any confirmation. Also, BG9, what's his deal? What are your thoughts on the morality of the characters within Bleach? Many different ones do intrigue me for their different ideals, perspectives, and motives, whether exactly known or not. Urahara, Gigi, Mayuri, Osho. Yeah, there's a lot of... Well, Kubo's great at making characters, and there's a lot of great... characters, and a lot of different characters. You don't get much more different than Gigi and Osho, but Ichigo. But a lot of them are willing to do things for greater causes, or for their own perspectives and different worldviews. And it's just a lot of great characters, a lot of interesting things. And some are really bad, some are really good, some are in between. It's great. It's great. Hi Agamotto, love your content. Which battles do you predict are going to happen in Cour 3? What are your favorite potential matchups, and who specifically are you most excited to see fight? I'm really excited to see Ichigo and Uryu hopefully really throw down and maybe knock some sense into him. And I talked about Naklavar has a couple great options that could be interesting, and I'm waiting for Hoshvalt versus Shunsui as well. I want that to happen. So maybe that. What are your predictions on what Ukitake is going to do next, and what do you think Kamikake he mentioned is? I don't know. That was weird. He had that big shadow with the eye behind him. Whatever he did in that shrine, maybe it's some sort of weapon. I don't know. I'm hoping Ukitake does something cool, though, because I've been waiting a long time for Ukitake to really be kind of more relevant and to get into the action. He hasn't really been much of an action-heavy character because he's sickly, obviously, but... yeah, I'd like to see him contribute more to the narrative. But maybe it's some sort of weapon. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the fact that Kubo is so involved in the anime that things that seemed incomplete in the manga are not expanded upon, specifically Uryu's involvement compared to his lack of shine in the manga. I mean, I think it's nice that he has a chance to revise years later. You know, he knows what works, what didn't, and he has a chance to try to correct that. I think that's a really cool opportunity. And I respect a lot of the changes he makes. The Uryu stuff is fantastic. Like, I think he's so much more involved in the anime than he is in the manga. 2 questions. What Schrift from the known Stern Ritters would you want for everyday life? And 2, if Yhwach approached you to be a Stern Ritter, what letter would you want? Your own original power. Oh, God. You're requiring me to use my imagination. Gremmy's would be great to have. That would be great. It'd be dangerous to have, though. You kind of have to really be careful of what you imagine with his, though. I wouldn't want to accidentally think of something. It's like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Accidentally thinking about what do I want the destroyer of the world to look like, and then that pops in your head, and there he is. That would be. I feel like that'd be a cool one, but yeah, it would be dangerous. I'm trying to think who else had some helpful ones. I mean, Meninas McAllen, just being really strong. That could be helpful sometimes, lifting stuff. And if Baz B can control his fire pretty well, I'd love to have firepower. So maybe that one. If Yhwach approached you to be a Stern Ritter, what would my letter be? I mean, I've always wanted to be able to teleport. Ever since I saw the movie Jumper when I was a kid, teleporting would be so T for teleport, I guess. Yeah, you know, something like that would be cool. Super speed somehow would be cool. Yeah, we'll go with T for teleport. With new Bankais and Shrifts revealed over the course of the series, which ones are your favorite and least favorite? My least favorite Shrift is probably Pepe's. It's like mind control but creepier. I didn't really like the way it was used. Kind of, it was meh. My favorite Shrift, I mean, Gremmy's was really interesting. Asnot's is great. Gigi's is fun, but that's because I love necromancy. He said, as an example, I absolutely despise the idea of Mayori's Bankai existing in real life. That would be terrifying. I absolutely adore Rose's Bankai, being musically loving and all. Yeah, Rose's is cool. Oh, you asked about Bankais too. I don't know for Bankais. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think on that. Thank you for the question, though. Any Stern Ritter vibes video planned for your wife since she's done a couple Shinigami and Espada videos? Yeah, absolutely. I think I could maybe be able to do that soon, right? I think I've met everyone, so I think I'll have Henry get the images together and we'll show her. So. With quite a few new scenes in Cour 2 and more to come, what is your opinion of being told whether or not a scene is anime exclusive or not? Do you consider information like that to be a spoiler? I mean, not really. Because, I mean, if I see the scene and I don't recognize it from the manga, I either expect it's anime only, or I think that it hasn't happened in the manga yet. And it's okay if someone says, it's an anime only. I feel like it's not going to ruin anything in the future of the manga reading for me. So, not so much of a question, but in the game Bleach Brave Souls, for the 8th anniversary, they released the characters White and Ichigo, and for part 2 they had Yamamoto, Chojuro, and Yashiro. But the past versions, which I thought was really good for an anniversary since there's very important parts in the anime. When you do watch Cour 2 opening, do you think you could have watched it earlier? I did do that fairly recently. And yeah, I think I could have watched it. Some of it would have hinted at things that I might have caught, but I think I would have been too distracted by all the weird things in it. Who do you think are the last 2 special threats that Yhwach made? We know it's Ichigo, Kenny, and Aizen. That's a good question. Probably... Maybe still Ryukin, somehow. He's on my list, potentially. Maybe Ichibei, one of the Squad Zero people, potentially. Maybe Namaya. I don't know. Or Hime, I still think I want her to be more important again, so maybe her. Also, it would have been interesting to see Gremmy versus Orihime. Could she have reversed the things that he was creating? I don't know. Which episode would you say was the best in Cour 2? Probably one of the last ones. Those were really, really good. But I also really enjoyed the White Haze with Asnoth. That was a good episode. Trying to think other ones. Yeah, probably one of the last ones. In my opinion, Cour 2 is the weakest among the three. How do you compare Cour 1 and Cour 2, and what are your expectations for Cour 3? Yeah, I did think it was a little more rushed. The pacing was a little less... handled a little less well, I thought. And Cour 1 was just so strong. Between the invasion, just the feeling of all the new animation, everything but the rain, the blade is me. On the Cour 1 I thought was stronger as well. But I think it also just had maybe more material to work with in more interesting ways. But I still really enjoyed Cour 2, but Cour 1 was hard to beat. There's a lot of material exclusive to the anime specifically from now on. What is your take when you see something bad, scene, dialogue, interaction in the manga, that is fixed or done in a better way in the anime? Do you see the anime as your headcanon? Do you try to analyze it from an author point of view? Do you try to analyze them separately? I mean, it depends, really. I try to look at it as, does this work better? I thought, let's take, for instance, the Squad Zero thing. It still ended up in the same result with them defeated, but the implication of the manga was that they just got beat, while what we saw in the anime was that they fought really hard and lost because of their own method. So yeah, now I kind of fuse that into what actually happened. I do think because Kubo is so involved with the anime that the anime corrections kind of are what really happened. But I still, for instance, cutting the Robert scene, I still think that happened. I still think, even though the anime didn't show that, I still in my heart, I'm like, Robert was crying out for help, realizing what was going on, and that happened, So it depends. It's a mix of a lot of those, I think. I like to look at them separately to compare and contrast, but they do kind of mold together in my brain because of how quickly I go from one to the other. It might be harder when you waited years. People had the manga for 10 years before some of these things, so it's probably easier to separate those things, where for me it's kind of all coming pretty close together. But I'm curious to see it going forward. Love your work. Cheers from a Brazilian living in Canada. Cheers, man. From a writer perspective, which of the new Sternritter Schrifts presented here do you think is the most creative or original? It doesn't have to be just in power itself, but also in execution. Naklavars! I have never thought of anything like that as a power. And I thought it was used really interestingly. The way they were trying to fight it was interesting. That was an interesting power. So probably him. I thought that was fascinating. Probably him. What are your thoughts on Ichimonji as a Zanpakuto? Pretty crazy. I love the paintbrush look. I love what it can do, especially in the manga. I loved the visuals of it. Yeah, really, really like it. And it fits our Osho very well. Oh, what's your favorite new ability shown in Cour 2 or Shikai? I mean, I thought Shinji's Bankai was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. But Naklavars I really like. Giselle's zombies were cool. I liked that a lot. So one of those, probably. Have you noticed, too, how Kubo tends to have the strange kid be the strange power / jolly power of the big bad guy? Wonder-wise was the special jolly to use against Yamamoto, and Yanzal Weizal was the special strange power to not be harmed by no one until you reached Hyosube, yeah. And both have sort of the same vibes. Yeah, they're both kind of... I think there was a sadness to Wonderwise that I didn't get from Weizal, but we barely saw... Is it Weizal? Weizal? Maybe Weizal. I didn't really get the same sadness from him. Like, I felt bad for Wonderwise once we realized what he was. But yeah, they were both used for a very specific purpose, both youthful looking. I would have liked to have seen more of the Wind, but yeah, he didn't last long. But yeah, that is interesting that Kubo kind of gives them a specifically kind of youthful looking kind of dude with weird powers to use. Alright, so that'll do it for this Q&A. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been like an hour somehow. It's fun answering these. I'll do the same thing at the end of Cour 3 when we get there. If you want to see, if you're here watching on YouTube and you want to see the manga read-along and my anime reactions, they're all there on the Patreon. There's hours and hours and hours of content, including also I'm reading Hunter x Hunter, Tokyo Ghoul, I'm watching Demon Slayer. There's a lot of stuff. I got videos of me reacting to different things. Yeah, it's a lot over there. But for you here on Patreon, thank you for asking these questions. If you submitted them as patrons, I appreciate it. Fun to answer. Yeah, so I'll upload this to Patreon, and then when I finish the analysis videos for Cour 2, I'll put this on YouTube for you guys that are watching on YouTube right now. So, yeah, this was fun, as always. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Take care. See you in Cour 3.